Log a day 916.
I need to do some audiobook recording. And I didn't really want to talk to the camera until I had coffee at me because, woof, this whole readjust. I feel like I feel mildly jet lagged. My whole sleep schedule has been completely thrown off. So I'm going to do a few of these. One of the things I want to talk about today was one of the things that we actually were talking about last night, which is cultural struggles, cultural differences in living in France. If you are an American in particular, all three of us last night were Americans, or all four of us, I guess, in the end. It was nice to meet you as well, Ashley. You saw one of the au pairs au Paris, but you didn't get a chance to see Ashley. It was nice to meet both of you, as well as the Purple Palace. We talked a little bit about the struggles of living here, and some of that comes down to cultural differences, especially around creative work and trying to make your own way. And so I thought I'd kind of talk about that today as a late French Friday. Today is still Friday for me. So I thought I'd hit a couple of those, as well as get some of this done, as well as I'm going to go paint some, I don't even know what we're painting, acrylics or something? With Sonia, if you remember Sonia, my wonderful artist illustrator friend who's got a couple of books that have come out recently. She's doing great, but I haven't seen her in a little while, so she invited me to come paint at a place somewhere over near where she is. I actually don't even know where we're going. I should look that up before the time comes. But I have a few hours to get this done, and then share some of my frustrations in trying to establish myself here in the way that I would establish myself anywhere, and how that does have some inherent cultural challenges in being in France. I should probably have a little bit more coffee. This is going to come together eventually. I hope. I am here. I got a lot of recording done. Almost tripped over my fan there. I'm feeling really good about the audiobook. I'm really liking digging into it. Now, on to the French Friday thing, which is why most of you clicked, and if you're still here, and sorry that it took me a while. Now, on to the French Friday thing. Living in France comes with a number of challenges, just like living in any country would. If you are a foreigner living in someone else's country, because I am a foreigner, believe it or not. I know that's hard for the American mentality, but I'm an American in another country, so that makes me the foreigner. There are a number of things that are just going to be challenging because the way that I was raised was different than a lot of the people that I'm surrounded by. And I think that can happen even within the United States. If you move from the East Coast to the West Coast, or the West Coast to the South, or the South to the Northeast, or the Midwest to anywhere, there are gonna be challenges. There are just gonna be little things and ways that people operate that are different that kind of drive you crazy and that you can't really get away from because it's the way that things are. And the way that things are often drives me nuts because I want things to be as awesome as they can be, but it's all through my limited perspective. One of the things that challenges me as an American, maybe as an American, but also within my personality type, is the expectation to just be one thing. The French very much expect you to just be one thing. Americans are their profession in a way that's, we tend to identify ourselves by what we do. And I actually really admire the way that the French don't really do that. Like, they don't talk about their profession half the time when you meet them. A lot of times the French are much more interested in life and what you're doing, where you're going in like a personal sense, maybe more recent events or whatever it is. They don't generally gravitate around to talking about work very quickly, if at all. Whereas Americans, it's like the first thing that we ask, like, hi, what's your name? What do you do? And we judge a lot based on what people do. That is something that's kind of annoying about American culture that I also struggle to get away from. But one of the things that I struggle with back at that is that with my French counterparts, and especially with French bureaucracy, they just expect you to fit in your one box professionally, and that's it. Like, the whole idea of the gig economy is something that I think blows a lot of minds here, and that's changing. There are a lot of the younger French generation is obviously changing, but the fact that I want to be a writer and that I like making videos and that I do whatever, a lot of different things that I do, kind of leads to some awkward moments. And this is actually more of a complaint with French bureaucracy than it is with individuals. I think that French people do find that interesting, even if they don't necessarily think of YouTube as being a real job. Where I really hit this struggle is with French bureaucracy and needing to check one box. And as soon as you check two boxes, they're like, but you checked the other box. How can you check two boxes? This is not okay. And in the midst of that, you end up struggling with a lot of things that don't feel like they really should be struggles. Related to this, I think I'm in shadow. Related to this though, and what I do struggle with in a more broad sense for French culture is the idea that ambition is somehow a negative thing. The French do have negatives. We all take negative spins on different things. Doesn't matter what culture you're from, there's certain things that you look down upon, certain things that you don't approve of, as much as another culture might. But one of the things that I struggle with French culture is that they tend not to approve too much of ambition. A lot of my French friends and a lot of French people that I know get to a certain level, like they get a particular job or they get to a certain place in their career and they're good. They're making enough money to get by. They're happy with it. And there's something about that I do genuinely envy. Like the ability to say, I've got this going, that's fine. I don't necessarily have to like my work. I don't necessarily have to really have any hopes or dreams established within this, because once I'm done working, I'm gonna go live my life. And that working to live mentality is fantastic. It's actually a really, really good thing. The other side of that, however, is that there's not a lot of ambition. There's not a lot of drive to continue to move on in a lot of careers, or to build something new, or to try something risky or adventurous. That startup mentality, that risky mentality is one that I definitely have. Like, I like trying new things. I like jumping into new ventures. And I definitely struggle sometimes with my French friends who don't really see any value in that. They might admire it from afar. And a lot of my French friends have expressed the fact that they really do admire that sense of American positivity, that can-doism that we've got going on. And they're like, oh, that's nice. But they say it in that way that's like, I like that from a distance, but don't get any of that on me. It's kind of the way that they end up treating it. And it's not necessarily a problem on a daily basis, but it does make it really difficult sometimes to feel that sense of validation that what you're doing actually matters around here. Because where Americans will root people on to success with risky ventures and admire that entrepreneurial spirit, and I feel like Americans just by and large are entrepreneurial in the way that we approach a lot of our problems and a lot of our dreams and ambitions. The French just kind of keep their dreams and ambitions to a minimum. And I think that actually ties into a lot of how their schooling works. If you look at the way that the French school system works, French grading, I think, is just one way you can look at it. The French kind of beat their kids down where Americans lift their kids up. I think there are downfalls to both of these systems. With the American system, the downfall is that we tell kids they can literally be anything, and then all of a sudden you have like a 5 foot tall, 90-pound man thinking that he can be a linebacker in the NFL, and that's probably not going to work out so well. We don't really see our limitations, and we don't really teach our children how to operate within their limitations and to pursue their particular strengths as an individual. We just kind of blanket everything with the happy hoorah, dream what you want to dreamism, which has its benefits, and I'm absolutely grateful for it, like the positivity that I have, but it has its downfalls. The French system starts from the other side. And if you're familiar with the American grading system, we start at 100% and then mark you off as you go. So if you have a test or an assignment, you start with the assumption that you have 100% and then you get marked off for your errors and your mistakes. The French system starts at 0. They assume you have 0 and convince me otherwise, which means that you can never get a perfect score in the French system. They grade out of 20. If you get 17 out of 20, that is unbelievable. That is like the best grade you're probably ever gonna get. If you're scoring 11 or 12 out of 20, you're probably right in the middle of the pack. That is distressing to an American, because I think that I should not only get 100%, but I think I should have a chance for bonus questions, which will put me over to like 115%, right? That mentality of saying like, you're nothing, prove to me otherwise, and then giving ground, I think has one positive element, which is that the French are really good at arguing for their case. Like, you take the average French person and they're much more ready and willing to stand up for themselves and defend why they deserve something out of this situation than the average American is. I think that can be shown in a number of different ways, and actually I'm thinking of some political situations right now that I won't get into, but the French are really good about that. The one thing that they're not good at though is that they are kind of knocked down so much and told that they're not special so much that they really believe it. And they think, well, why try? Like, I got something half decent out of life. This is about as good as I deserve. And that's as far as it's gonna go. I'm not saying that all French people think that way or behave that way in the end, but it is something that you see bleeding through into the French mentality at a broader scale. And it's kind of discouraging. Like, I wish that that wasn't the case. I want to bridge those two things if I can. This is an aside, this is a total aside. But if I could bridge those two mentalities where we got the French sense of realism with the American sense of optimism and found a balance in there, like, I think that we'd be able to do some really great things together. This, of course, this bleeds into another problem that I have, naturally, which is that often the French are a little bit jealous of the success of other people. Something that even finds its way into stand-up comedy here. If they're gonna accept the level of life that's been beaten into them, then you darn well better as well. It makes it kind of hard when you're trying to aim, you know, really high in life. Now, on a separate note, Metro's already here. I'm on my way to meet Sonia now. We'll move on to when it's quieter. Anyways, now that we're out of the metro, one of the things that I really admire about French culture is just how close-knit groups of friends tend to be. At least in my experience, a lot of my French friends have kept the friends they've always had, like through school and on into adulthood. They stick together and they have close-knit relationships and they spend a lot of time together. They spend a lot of meals together. They go out together a lot. It's great. It's genuinely something that I think is really cool. The downside to that, though, is that when you go out, it's really hard to meet French people because they tend to cluster together. Like, they go out together, they stay in their little group, and they're not there to mingle. They don't meet people. Even at a lot of parties where, like, the whole point is to mingle with people, which is pretty rare when you have a mingling. I was looking for Space Invaders, don't mind me. And it's another one of those things that, like, I try to encourage when I'm with my French friends, and they've said that they appreciate, they think it's cool, but they really don't do on their own. So one of the reasons that Sonia and I are doing this painting thing that we're doing tonight is to meet people. She said there are a lot of people there, and she's always looking out for me, so she said there are a lot of beautiful women there as well. And we're just gonna go hang out, paint a little bit, and hopefully meet some people. But it makes it a real challenge, and last night we were talking about that as well. How hard it is to meet French people here. Like, you can meet internationals, other expats. That's not nearly as big of a challenge, but meeting and making French friends is kind of like a lifelong goal. Something that does happen, it can happen, but it's rare. Which brings me possibly to my final point. And that is another thing that I admire and also get annoyed by, but that is the making of French friends. Not only do they not go out to mingle, but they're just hard to meet and befriend. One of the things that a lot of Europeans will actually struggle with Americans is how we're very outgoing, we're very friendly, and that can get misinterpreted as being kind of shallow, because when we look to chat with people and ask how they're doing and so forth, we're not necessarily looking to enter into like a real deep conversation. A lot of the time, we're just looking to have some chit chat and move along. It's kind of that pleasantries thing that we talked about before. And for Americans, it can be really difficult to be here because the French don't like doing small talk so much. They actually appreciate silence a lot of times because that can be more pleasant, sitting in silence, than filling the gaps with unnecessary blah, 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 blah. At least that's the way a lot of them look at it. They do say, though, that with the French, once you break through and you make friends with them, they're your friends for life. But I feel like that's the case with Americans too. Once you really make friends, they're your friends for life. I think that's the case across cultures for the most part. When you really make true friends, like good friends, they'll stick with you, I think regardless of culture. It's just that the road to get there looks and feels very different. And it can be a real struggle as an American here, not really knowing how to engage early on with French people, how to like bridge those gaps and start building those relationships when all the tools you have at hand actually kind of annoy the French. That's just kind of the way it is.
Baby, please. Please have a little patience with me. Hello.
I don't know what I'm gonna do yet.
These are mine.
Those are yours?
Yeah, those are mine. Yeah.
Wow, those look really nice. Mine are not gonna look that nice.
Wow. I mean, it's been years and years.
She's like a professional. I'm gonna have to do, you can make piggy banks?
You can make piggy banks too.
You can make all kinds of things. I was kind of thinking I'd make myself a mug because I need more mugs, but now I'm curious. Teapot? Perfect. I'm gonna make something. We'll see what happens.
Baby, please. Please have a little patience with me.
You're gonna do that one?
Yeah.
All right. Sonia convinced me that maybe I was being a little bit too ambitious. I was gonna make a popcorn bowl because I need one, but I also need a second coffee cup. So, and if I think of something in time, I might make this a gift for somebody. But in the interim, I need a coffee cup. So this works out great.
Patience with me. Don't leave me, girl, don't leave me. The only thing you actually need is this.
The only thing I need?
So much faster than more. So much faster than
fine.
That's great.
They said it's fine.
That's why you need to have Sonia around so she can teach you things. You should come here. She's going to be doing a workshop here next week. I'll link below, assuming she sends me the link.
I will.
You better.
Well, there you go. It depends now how much you want.
I like that. I won't lie, I wanted to do some on my own, but
No, you can do more.
I don't know how much more I really want to do. It looks really good. I'll do a little bit more. It looks really cool. I was thinking about putting a design in the bottom, but this looks neat.
This is what my friends tell me all the time.
This is really, really fun. It's actually also so relaxing that I'm falling asleep. But I made a coffee cup for myself, so next time Pushan comes over for coffee, I'll actually have something for him to drink out of, which is very generous of me, because I'm so generous. Anyways, it was really fun. It was really good to play with a couple different methods to make this work. Actually scratch the words into it so that they're legible. And now we gotta glaze it and bake it. Thank you. So I should be able to come back and get it sometime, probably next week. And then I'll drink coffee out of it, and it'll be amazing. Anyways, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here tonight. Make sure that you come by if you want to swing down L'Atelier de Geneviève. If you want to come by and make your own painted and baked goods, or you can do a workshop with Sonia sometime, and that'll be even more fun because Sonia will be here. Any final words?
No, make money, not friends. This is Geneviève.
Hello.
She's the actual. She runs the place. Do you have anything you want to say?
Hello. Welcome. Come to paint.
Yeah,
That works.
paint with
That's
us.
perfect. Yeah.
Come and paint with us.
Go. Come down and paint.